What is up, Cheezyactionfilmz? It's Cheesy and...
Me. Hello. Hi.
And we are Cheezyactionfilmz, where we don't make action films, but we do make experiences, and you guys are now going to experience...
We make uncomfortable experiences, to be more specific.
Yeah.
As is the one we're going to provide you with right now, in the form of a Family Guy fanfiction. Who is this between?
You know, it's between Stewie Griffin and Brian. So, you know.
Needless to say, this will contain pedophilia and bestiality, so hold on to your hats, because it's going to be a good one.
So I think we should come up with like a rating of how fucked up we think the fanfiction's going to be.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this will be in the high ballers.
So out of 10, what are you going to rate this?
Well, I can't say that yet. We haven't even read it, dude.
I know.
Come on, but you can't ask me what I'm gonna rate it if we haven't fully experienced this unique thing we're about to embark into. Okay? So why don't we slip into something comfortable?
Yeah.
Put on the fireplace. Sink into our chairs.
Alright.
And read, "Temptation, thy name is bath time." That is the name of the fanfiction, by the way.
Fantastic.
Alright, so you want me to start off?
Yes.
Temptation, thy name is bath time. Here we go. He was a sick fuck. There was no rationalizing this. What other type of person actually had sexual desires for an infant? What other type of person would go so far as to hide himself away in the bathroom to jack off at thoughts being with a said infant?
I like that it knows, like, it's almost like the fanfiction knows what it is. So it just blatantly states, this is fucked up, and
pretty meta.
It knows what it is.
This was so wrong. Yeah. Brian knew that much, but his urges had a way of overpowering him at the worst of times. So here he was, sitting on the toilet, masturbating like crazy, whilst thinking about his best friend, Stewie Griffin. Brian moaned under his breath, trying his best to keep quiet, so as to not let anyone know what he was up to. His left paw was gripping tightly to the edge of the toilet seat as a means to stabilize himself, as his right paw worked his member up and down with rhythmic celerity. This is so... Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. This wasn't the first time he had done this, and it certainly wouldn't be the last.
Certainly not.
Still, he knew it would never be enough. He wanted Stewie, and it was only a matter of time before his resolve would cave in. He began frantically thrusting into his hand. He was desperate for sweet release. Fuck.
Oh God.
This is a good comeback fanfiction. I'm liking this.
It doesn't waste any time, that's for sure.
I've been waiting for this. This is the one.
I've been waiting for this moment all my life.
Sweet release,
Stewie.
baby. Sweet release. He began to pant as he imagined he was thrusting into the child. A little whisper dirty talk, and he was so close. I'm Brian, right?
Yes.
Alright. Oh, Stewie!
Oh.
His panting grew louder. His pace quickened. His grip tightened.
Tighten.
Tightened.
That's some Attack on Titan right there.
Yeah, man. 3D removal gear and everything. He was almost there. He was so close. He just needed a little something more. There was a knock at the door.
Brian?
The sound of Stewie's voice caught Brian off guard, and it was more than enough to send him over the edge. Brian aimed his penis into the toilet as he came.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
That's some Hawkeye precision there, Brian. Nice. Ah! There was another knock. Oh god.
You lost the beat.
Brian, are you okay?
Brian took a moment to catch his breath before responding. I'm fine, kid. Just give me a minute. Brian grabbed some toilet paper to clean up the excess semen and dispose of it in the bowl. After properly cleaning himself up, he flushed and exited the bathroom. Stewie was waiting for him out in the hall.
Good God, man, you were in there for almost half an hour. I was trying to show you a drawing of mine, but you just ran off. Took me a moment to realize where you were. You don't even use the toilet. What were you doing? We, leaving some shirts there? Leaving some tension? Gotta some Hawkeye precision into the toilet? Tag on time?
Jesus. After failing to come up with a reasonable story to tell the kid, Brian gave Stewie a stern look. It's none of your business what I was up to, so just drop it. Stewie scoffed at Brian in annoyance. Then it dawned upon him. There was only one thing. There was only one thing Brian would get this touchy about. The boy's annoyance was soon replaced with smugness as he smirked at Brian.
Fine, don't tell me. But
Fine.
fine. Don't tell me. But I already know what you were up to. Tell me, Brian, who were you fantasizing about this time? Was it Jillian, Lois, or maybe even someone I don't know? Huh?
Brian raised his paw as he went to retort, but in the end, he had nothing to say. The kid had him pegged. Well, for the most part he did, but how could he ever expect the child to know that it was, in fact, him who Brian had been envisioning as he went to town on himself? The dog lowered his paw.
Went to town on himself. It's like every time Brian says something or does something, it makes me realize this dog wants to fuck this baby.
It's so bad. So bad. The dog lowered his paw and turned to go down the stairs. Smooth. Jesus, man.
Smooth smug.
Stewie's smug grin fell.
Oh, come on, Brian. There's no reason to get all upset.
Brian paid no attention to the kid as he began his descent down the staircase. Stewie gave a little huff of anger. He hated when he hated when anyone, especially the dog, ignored him. He turned on his heels and retreated to his bedroom, hoping to vent to his stuffed teddy bear Rupert about all his frustrations with Brian. I hope there's a Rupert scene, actually.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Rupert.
He's a hunk of a bear, Rupert.
True that. True that.
Brian reached the bottom of the stairs and took a seat beside Peter on the family couch. Peter was too absorbed in a rerun of the A-Team to pay him any mind, but Brian didn't really care. He was too wrapped up in his own thoughts at the moment. These feelings for Stewie were only getting stronger with each passing day, and it scared the shit out of him. What would happen when he finally lost control? Sometimes it really sucked being a dog. Yeah. primal compulsions were a bitch. He had lost it.
Bitch. This is a dog.
He had lost it once with Lois, and that had been quite an ordeal. He didn't even want to think about what the family would do to him if he ever jumped Stewie like that, and he had no idea how the kid would react to such a situation. Stewie had been sending him signals for quite a while now, but Brian wasn't quite ready to decide if Stewie actually had desires for him as well. For all he knew, designs. Yeah.
Can rebuild him. We have the
Fuck my
technology.
speech today.
Make him mecha Stewie.
2.0.
Yes.
Yeah. Stewie Mark 49.
Level
For all
99 Warlock Stewie.
For all he knew, it could all just be a sick joke the child was using to get back at him for the countless gay jokes he had thrown his way. What am I doing? I shouldn't be trying to figure out how he feels. I should be trying to get over him. That was the real problem. How could he ever get over Stu when they were practically tied to the hip? He started developing a strong relationship with the boy very early on.
What?
What?
They're tied to the hip.
Yeah, they were tied to the hip, dude.
So, like, they walk around and hips are just, like, suction cupped together.
No, I think there was like one episode when they got super glued together or something.
Oh, no. Nice reference.
Yeah, they were literally tied to the hip.
Close.
Fucking get it! Woohoo! Right.
Yeah.
I lost where I was now.
Sure, wait. He started
relationship early on.
developing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, there was an element of rivalry, but it was a friendly rivalry. Then Stewie had to start making passes at him, actually getting Brian in a lip lock on more than one occasion. Okay. Actually getting Brian in a lip lock on more than one occasion. Boom. I got
Bam.
that sentence. I can do the English.
Pow!
He should have dealt with the situation immediately. That's what any sensible person would have done if they were being hit on by a child. But no. He let it continue until the point where he actually began to respond positively to Stewie's advances. Wow! Okay, my jaw is on edge. Oh sure, he could put on a sour face and pretend he was offended, but deep down, whenever that happened, there was a pang of longing. It was the longing he had been experiencing for most of his life. It was the longing to be with someone who understood him. He wanted someone he could talk to hours. Fuck!
2 hours. He wanted to talk
He
to
wanted
hours.
2 hours. He wanted someone who he could talk to for hours on end. He wanted someone who would enjoy being in his company as much as he enjoyed being in theirs. It was a shame that someone turned out to be Stewie. Oh,
It's kind of rude.
yeah, maybe a bit. Yes, Brian began to cherish the boy as a companion, but his sexual desires remained latent. Then there was the Karina incident. That's when things had got too far. Stewie had come to him disguised as one of his many female alter egos. A part of him knew who it was. He had seen Stewie in drag plenty of times to make the distinction, but having had a couple of drinks, he could argue that his judgment had been impaired. Things turned sexual quickly, and eventually he had gone so far as to force Stewie to touch him when no child should ever touch another person. The kid. I remember this episode actually. This actually happened.
Yeah.
The kid quickly revealed who he actually was after that. Brian should have been repulsed, but that was nowhere near the reaction he had. He'd been thrilled at hearing Stewie's voice and realizing who was touching him. A rush of excitement overwhelmed him. It took a minute for him to compose enough to act like he was angry. That was the moment where he really began yearning for Stewie in a sexual manner. Sure, he still pursued women, but honestly it was nothing more than an act now. Maybe that's all it had ever been. A big act, in a desperate attempt to hide himself away from the fact that he was indeed in love with Stuart Gilligan Griffin. If I believed in such things, I'd say I'm most certainly going to hell.
Probably.
Going to doggy hell.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to.
You're gonna play cards or poker with that one group of dogs for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And one of them's gonna just howl. You gotta know when to hold 'em. Know when to hold 'em. Know when to walk away. Thank you.
Exactly, yeah. Great.
That was fantastic.
A sad chuckle escaped the dog's lips as he allowed himself to get lost in the exploits of Peter's favourite action heroes. He didn't count on it being a marathon, and before he knew it, 2 hours had passed. Finally, Lois entered the room to awaken from his trance-like state. Do you want to be Lois?
Oh God.
Go for it, buddy.
Brian, I need you to do something for me.
That was surprisingly pretty well done.
Really?
Nice,
Oh,
yeah.
thanks.
Better than what I could do. Brian snapped away from the television to look at Lois. Sure thing, Lois, what is it? Lois looked at him with that smile he used to love so much. It was amazing how much that had changed.
I'm swamped with dishes from dinner, and Stewie needs
See right there, out of nowhere, Peter just slowly started putting his finger in her mouth because he was watching his favorite show, trying to show
Yeah,
her up.
exactly.
And she was like,
and Stewie needs someone to help him with his bath.
"Oh God, I've turned into Peter now." You know what? Fuck it, we'll roll with that one.
I asked Meg if she could, but apparently she's too busy studying for a board exam to help her poor mother. There's no way I'm allowed Peter or Chris to monitor my baby in a tub of water. So you take care of it for me. I know how good you are with him, and it would really help me a lot.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Lois leaned in toward Brian to show off her assets. Ass.
And titties.
The dog knew that it was just a ploy to get him to do what she wanted, but she had no way of knowing that he was over her. He should have made up an excuse for why he couldn't, but there was really no valid reason for him not to. He was stuck. If he said no, Lois would pressure him into telling her why, and if he said yes, he would be alone in the bathroom with a naked Stewie. A situation that could only lead to trouble. Oh, pedophilia. Deciding to deal with one problem at a time. Yeah. Bestiality.
Yeah, that's too.
Brian resolved to give Lois the answer she was expecting. No problem, Lois. I'll go get him right now. He got up the... He got...
That
You got-
damn fly.
Jesus, dude.
That always flies into your mouth whenever we read fanfictions.
It always happens. It's a curse. He got up off the couch and made his way towards Stewie's room, receiving a friendly kiss on the cheek from Lois on the way. A fake smile was his outward response, but in reality, Brian was panicking. He had sealed his fate with what should have been a gesture of kindness.
Fineness.
Of
A
quietness.
gesture of kindness.
A jester. Fuck. Okay. He wanted nothing more than to just flee the situation entirely, but he couldn't just expect to rush out the door all of a sudden and not raise any suspicion as to why he was sort of opposed to helping Stewie with his bath. Jeez. Fuck.
Soda
Hold
and
it.
pose to help Stewie with his bath.
Hold it together, Brian. It's just one bath. You've helped Stewie with his bath before. There's nothing weird about this. Besides, Stewie is perfectly capable of bathing himself. You don't even have to touch him. Just stay with him long enough to satisfy Lois, keep it in your sheath for a little while, and then you can whack it off like there's no tomorrow once you've put the kid to bed.
Whack it off.
I never
like
want to hear
there's
those
no
words
tomorrow.
in my life again. Oh god.
I feel like many single fathers have said that though. I can whack her off like there's no tomorrow once you put the kid to bed. Oh boy. Keep it in your
So true.
sheath for a little while.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that one.
Good.
Keep it in your sheath, dude.
I'm gonna have to use that sometime. First, I'm gonna have to find a situation that calls for that.
Brian reached the door to Stewie's room and took a moment to compose himself before knocking. He could hear the pitter-patter of Stewie's feet as the boy made his way to the door. The door opened, and Stewie didn't look too happy.
What is it, Brian? Rupert and I are in the middle of a magical quest to slay the evil bitch Lois, so it had better be important enough to put the fate of the world on hold.
Brian laughed at this.
Can you give us
I'm
a laugh?
afraid... What?
Can you give us a laugh? Perfect. Yes.
I'm afraid the evil bitch is the one who sent me up here. It's bath time, kiddo.
Oh god,
It's bath time, kiddo.
No. No.
That's one porn star's catchphrase, definitely.
Yes.
Uh,
Bath time, kiddo.
Stewie looked as if he had been betrayed.
How could you, Brian? Damn that woman. She told you
I love how you
against
don't
me.
change like your tone or anything.
I know, it's just
How could you, Brian? You dastardly dog.
Very well. This is only a temporary obstacle, but she can't escape her fate forever.
The child turned to speak to his bear.
Rupert, we'll camp here for tonight. I've got to go somewhere. But I'll be back by morning. Don't let those pesky goblins sneak up on you like last time.
With the instructions given to his partner, Stewie turned back toward Brian.
Bruce Banner. Oh right, it is me. Look at that.
Don't think I won't get
Goddamn.
my revenge on you, dog. You'll pay for allying yourself with that wretched woman.
Brian smiled at the boy as he knelt down and picked him up before bringing his mouth close to whisper in the child's ear.
Oh god.
I'm not supposed to say anything, but she has me under her spell. I'm not doing this of my own free will. She's controlling me. You have to stop her.
Oh
Stewie.
god.
Felt a chill go down his spine. He couldn't ignore how good it felt to be this close to Brian. Once the dog had pulled away, the boy gave him a look of understanding.
Don't worry, Brian. Rupert and I will make sure that bitch pays for what she's done.
Brian acted like he was a mindless zombie as he mechanically walked over to Stewie's dresser to retrieve the child's pajamas. Stewie pretended like he was trying to escape, and Brian slightly tightened the grip on the boy. They continued to play as they made their way down the hall and towards the bathroom. Stewie softly beat Brian's chest with his fists in fake desperation as the canine entered and closed the door behind him, making sure it was locked. Stewie couldn't hide the smile on his face. Brian hardly ever played with him like this, but when it did happen, he cherished every moment. Unfortunately, the moment had passed. Brian was putting him down. Alright, kid, that's enough. Let's get you bathed and in bed. Stewie Stewie was overcome with disappointment. But,
You need help with this one? Acquiesced?
acquiesced.
Yes.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Acquiesced and began removing his overalls. Brian immediately looked away. Their little game had been enough to distract him for a while, but now his fears were resurfacing. He made his way over to the tub, doing his best to ignore Stewie undressing, and began running the water. After making sure the water was of a suitable temperature, he placed a stopper into the drain and occupied himself with watching the tub fill up.
Brian, I could use a little help here.
The dog reluctantly turned to look at the boy, who was now just in his diaper. Keep it together, Brian.
Keep it sheathed.
Oh, God. I can't believe this is actually gonna happen. I'm pretty scared.
I kind of think I already know how this is gonna happen. Oh god.
Stewie was tapping his foot impatiently and motioning for his diaper to be removed. Brian wordlessly What?
What?
What are you doing?
Oh, tapping my foot.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I thought that was something else. Brian wordlessly reached to undo the fasteners of the diaper, making sure to keep his eyes on the wall behind Stewie. His paws were shaking, but eventually he was able to unfasten the last strap. The diaper fell to the floor. Brian gulped. He was hoping that Stewie wasn't noticing how nervous he was. Stewie walked over to the edge of the tub. Brian remained where he was, still focusing on the wall.
I'm not tall enough to climb in by myself, Brian.
Oh god, he kind of had a southern accent there.
Brian?
Brian.
Boy?
Brian, you better
Brian.
lift me in this tub. Well, that wasn't even southern right there. It was like Stewie was a black woman. Dog, you better
Wow.
lift me in this tub right now.
You sound like the fucking woman of Tom and Jerry.
Oh yeah.
Thomas!
Yes, exactly.
There's a mouse in the house!
Ooh, we got a mouse in here. Oh boy. I'm gonna
Brian,
clean you right
stop.
up good, I am.
Brian snapped back to reality. Sorry, kid, I've just got a lot on my mind right now. I'm writing the next day. He quickly picked Stewie up, placed him in the tub, and shut off the water. Stewie was a little surprised with how swiftly Brian did this. He was also wondering why the dog was trying so hard not to make eye contact with him.
Do you want to talk about it?
Brian acted like he didn't hear Stewie as he poured the bubble bath into the tub. Hopefully, it would be enough covering to keep his mind from wandering into the gutter, and maybe it would be a good distraction to keep Stewie occupied from his problems. As the bubbles began to form in the water, Stewie let out a rare childlike laugh as he began playing in the tub. Jesus. Satisfied, Brian put the bottle away, took a seat on the toilet, and focused his attention on the floor. Stewie continued to play for a good while, and Brian was beginning to get impatient. He wanted Stewie to just bathe himself and get out so he could put this whole thing behind him. But Brian never did have the best of luck. Poor Brian.
Poor Brian. Oh, right.
Brian, I'm ready for you to bathe me.
Nice.
Thank you.
Without looking up from the floor, Brian answered, "You can bathe yourself, I've seen you." Stewie knew good and well that he could, but he just loved messing with the dog.
But Brian, you're under the witch's spell, remember? And she told you to bathe me.
Brian began wringing his hands together. The longer he was here with Stewie, the stronger his urges grew. This was quickly turning into a cliche. Shoulder, angel, and demon scenario.
Alright, so you want to be the demon or the angel?
I'm good with being either. I'm not really too bothered.
Alright, I'll be the demon.
Okay. It's demon. Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think he's the bold text.
Alright, go for it.
Just do it. The kid probably wants you to touch him anyways.
No, Brian! Just say no!
There's no reason you shouldn't. Just go over there, cuff a feel, see how he reacts, take it from there. I'm telling you, he wants it just as bad as you do.
He's just a baby!
That's no ordinary baby. That's a prodigy.
That's a prodigy. He's got a prime dick. He's got a prime ass.
The dick.
Oh God.
And he's perfectly capable of giving consent in a situation like this.
No.
I'm not saying you should just go over there and rape him. Just see how he...
It's starting to sound like fucking the sisters from The Simpsons.
I'm not saying you should go up and rape him. Just see how he reacts. If it's possible, keep going. If he's negative, just brush it off like it was nothing.
Stop.
You can't keep pretending everything is fine between you two. Something's gotta give.
Brian was at his wit's end. He couldn't keep this up. He should have just ran away, but no. He had to go through with this. He knew he wouldn't be able to control himself, and yet here he was. There was no going back. He turned his head to slowly look at Stewie. His face was emotionless as he got up and mechanically knelt down by the edge of the tub. It was all just a game. Stewie caught on to what Brian was doing.
Oh God.
Brian, no, please. Fight it. Don't let her control you.
Brian flinched, pretending to fight for control as part of his act. He reached for a washcloth, dipped it into the tub to soak it, and poured some child-safe body wash onto it. I can't fight it, Stewie. He slowly reached toward the child, and in response, Stewie made like he was trying to avoid him. The washcloth made contact with the boy's chest, and Brian began to rub slow circles with his paw. Stewie knew that it was all part of Brian's act, but he couldn't help but notice a bit of sensuality. Sensuality in the action, yeah. The dog continued his ministrations as he slowly washed the child's torso. Once he was satisfied with the front, Brian turned Stewie so that he was okay. Brian turned Stewie so that he was facing away from him, and began to wash his back, delicately working his way up and down the boy's spine. Stewie shivered a bit under the dog's touch, and Brian smirked. From the back to the scalp, from the scalp to the arms, and from the arms to the legs. Brian kept the same slow pace, but was beginning to get anxious as he got closer to his goal.
His goal. Go!
Oh,
The Nick.
Stewie had his eyes closed. He knew that Brian was just playing with him, but a boy was allowed to dream, goddammit. He was allowed to dream. Brian pulled Stewie so that his back was against the edge of the tub. He could feel himself getting hard at the thought of what came next. So wrong. Fuck.
Ah!
You can still back out. Oh, that was meant to be the angel voice, I think, but... You can still back out! Brian shook his head. Fuck backing out.
Oh,
Fuck running away. He was tired of constantly being frustrated. He was tired of pretending like everything is alright. With a little more force than he probably intended, he reached down and grabbed Stewie in his crotch with his firm squeeze like this.
Can I just say, the title of this whole section right here could be called Never Back Down 3. It's Stewie and Brian's story.
Jesus Christ. Stewie's eyes shot open, and he did his best to suppress the moan that escaped his lips. Brian was completely out of his sheath by now. Oh, it's out of the sheath. With his cock pressed up against the tub, he began to massage Stewie's smaller member. The boy's lip was quivering. He couldn't let Brian know how much he was enjoying this. He just had to suppress his pleasure until Brian was done washing him. That's what he tried to do. The seconds ticked by. Brian continued rubbing Stewie. You could feel the kid harden under his touch. It pleased him. Stewie was going crazy. Surely Brian thought that he was clean enough by now. There was no way that this was still innocent bathing. Yeah. This had turned into something else entirely. The child turned his head to look at the dog, but was shocked when he was greeted with the tip of Brian's own cock peering over the edge. He looked up at the dog.
Oh god.
Brian?
The dog focused his gaze towards his little captive. He could see the slight fear in the child's eyes, but there was something underneath the fear. Brian could see the lust in Stewie's eyes also.
Oh.
He let go of the washcloth, let it float away, but continued to massage the boy in the most forbidden of areas. Stewie rested his head against the edge of the tub and let out a quiet moan whilst continuing to look up at the dog. Brian's gaze never left Stewie's, as his rubbing motion slowly changed into a jerking motion.
A jargon motion. God, did
You like... Get what? What? You like that, don't you, kid? Stewie nodded his head in approval and began... Oh, dude. Don't contribute to this fucking idea. God. Stewie nodded his head in approval and began to thrust into the dog's paw. This was the reaction Brian had been hoping for. There was no reason to hold back any longer. Without giving Stewie any warning, Brian quickly spun the child around so they were face to face. Before Stewie could even blink in surprise, his lips were crushed against the dog's in a ferocious kiss. Brian's tongue pushed its way past the boy's lips, and Stewie made no objection to the intrusion. Once he had gotten to his bearings, Stewie began to kiss back, grabbing onto Brian's collar, trying desperately to press their bodies together, but hindered by the edge of the tub that was separating them. Stewie pulled away from the kiss to catch his breath. He began pulling Brian over the edge.